Hello guys, welcome to Dev++. My name is Angel. Today's episode is going to be about building a JSON REST API with Python and Flask, part 2. In this video, we're going to be connecting to a database and doing some data validation. So let's jump right into it. So what we're going to be doing in today's episode is going to continue the previous project. Remember the one that we did with Python and Flask for our JSON REST API? We're going to be connecting to MongoDB using pymongo. We're going to be operating our endpoints or web services for our app in order to connect to MongoDB and do the operations there. And finally, we're going to do some quick validation with a library called Cerberus, which is a pretty cool library for doing that job. Finally, we're going to be pushing our project to GitHub and doing some closing remarks. We're going to be pending with user authentication. We're going to leave that for a different video just because it's a little bit longer. And requirements, same as the first video. Basic knowledge of Python and web architecture, terminal knowledge, an IDE, HTTP client, a web browser, and a MongoDB database. I already set one in MongoDB Atlas. It's super easy, super fast, super nice to do. So let's jump right into it, right? So I'm gonna open my terminal window. I'm gonna go work in the same project that we had before. I'm gonna open my IDE too, so you guys have a fresh view of where we left, right? We got a Flask application, a Hello World web service, and two views for plural task and individual task with the task ID included, right? So let's jump right into it, right? So first of all, remember we need to activate our virtual environment. Let me know in the comments if you guys want to see a video on virtual environments. We can do that. I'm going to install the libraries that I'm going to use today. I'm going to use pymongo, Cerberus, and something called JSON. I'm going to explain that a little bit later on the video for working with object IDs for MongoDB. So install my libraries. Remember, once we have these libraries, we're going to see what we have here. And we're going to put that on the requirements file. So make sure we update this. You guys have it when you connect to it. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to connect to our database, right? Just to test the connection, connect to MongoDB. We're going to do everything on the same file. Maybe one of the things that we do in that third video for user authentication is just like refactoring a couple things here and there. Okay, so we already have the string here for connecting. It has all the password and everything. I'm going to delete that at the end of the video. Don't worry about that. Okay, so first of all, Mongo is divided into databases. You can have multiple databases within the same server. It's just like a separation of concerns. Each database can have multiple collections, which is the box or the container where we put all our JSON documents, and each JSON document can have whatever form you want to give it. So it's not like SQL, if you're familiarized with it, where you define a data structure. Here you can literally put anything anywhere, right? So that same logic applies to databases and collections. If you try to access a database that it doesn't exist, it just creates one for you. If you're trying to access a collection that it doesn't exist, it just creates one for you, right? So we're gonna have the tasks database. I'm gonna call this singular just because that's how I like it. Client. I'm gonna call this task database. Just copy and paste, put this name. And same with our collection, right? Task collection. It's coming from our database. And pretty much it. So just to test the connection, I'm just gonna do something here, listing the current databases, or better, let me see. I think that anything that we do after this, it's just gonna give us, see what we have here, server info maybe, right? So anything that we print here is gonna is going to tell us that we are already connected, right? So we go back to running the Flask application. Remember, there's a command for running this and keeping it in debug mode. Right, it prints the information from the server. That means that everything is working as expected. So let's go to it. So one quick thing before we continue. Remember guys, if you are enjoying these videos and liking this, just make sure to hit the like button, right? Subscribe to the channel just to, I'm gonna be continuing doing a lot of videos like this, hopefully every week, multiple ones every week. And if you know anyone that is interested in this content, just share the video with them. And make sure to leave on any comments or comments of videos that you want to see, or errors that I make with these videos, or anything that you want to communicate to everybody watching that video. Cool. So moving forward, so we go back to our Python. We know that it's connecting. We're just gonna leave that in there just in case that we need information. So let's start with our first route. So we created a task route just to get all the tasks, and then a post method call just to create a new task, right? So let's start with that. So we're not going to use this global task anymore. Just going to delete it from here. So what's going to happen now is that I'm going to get all my tasks. So I'm going to call it the tasks collection. So you have a method called find where I can pass an empty array or an empty dictionary just to find everything that is in the table. Keep in mind that the find operations return an async iterator or a cursor. It doesn't pull all the information at once, just because that's not efficient. So we're gonna have to manually pull all the tasks in order to show them and create a response for the user. So I'm gonna call this task cursor. I'm gonna call this task. So what I'm gonna do is for task in task cursor. So I had a typo here. Just gonna do task.pen.task, right? And I'm just gonna return these tasks right here. So I get a warning here, says that, oh, I have variable already on the outer scope, but I don't, right? So I have that there, right? Let's change that post method. So I get the data from the JSON. I'm no longer gonna generate an ID. I'm just gonna let MongoDB generate their own IDs. They have a very efficient way of generating IDs. They generate like a random string. It's actually more complex than that. It's a binary, which is super efficient for searches and how internally Mongo works. So we're gonna see a little bit of that, right? So instead of putting that on a fictional list, I'm gonna call my collection. I'm gonna do is insert one, right? I'm gonna pass the data that I received from the request. And then this generates something called, I think it's inserted information, right? Regarding what he put there and what he did, right? So one thing to notice here, and something that you will find working with Mongo. So the insert one method modifies the input object to set the ID when you don't put an ID, right? Actually, I'm gonna put it just like the name of the field, right? So we're gonna see that in just a few moments, right? Insert info, right? So we're gonna print that insert info just to see what that contains. And we're also gonna print the data, right? Because we need to see the ID that is generated there, just for you to take a look in how that could work, right? Okay, so we do this. So let's try to test this to web services. So I'm gonna open my Insomnia. I think I already have the collection here. Yes, I have a couple of examples already. So we're gonna test first the post web service, right? We're gonna call this slash tasks, put some dummy data there. Let's see if we have the server running. Seems that it's running. We're just gonna try this. Okay, we get an error here. Right, so object ID is not serialized. So what I was telling you, right? When you send this data to the insert one, it adds the ID because we don't have one, it creates one. And then when we're trying to return it here, remember the Flask, what it's trying to do is converting everything to a JSON string. So he puts that ID there, which is a complex object, a binary object, and simply Flask doesn't know how to convert that to a string. That's what is called serialized, right? So first of all, we print the data. You see it has this weird ID. It's called object ID, right? And then we have the result. That's what it's called, result, which is a weird object. Let's see what we have here in this weird object by doing a couple prints, right? We know now the data has also this ID property, which is that object ID. We just have to figure out a way to get it to be converted to a string so that we can, know what to do with it, right? It's gonna be called result. A lot of debugging here, a lot of prints, right? So we get this working. We're just gonna give it a try. Okay, what we got here. So if we print the ID, right, we get this, here. If we get the ID, we got it here, right? Because the print, it calls the string method over the, over whatever object it has, right? And then we have all the properties of that object ID. Let's see if we have one specific to make it a string, or if we just apply the string to it. Yeah, it seems that we just simply apply the string. Then we have the object, and then we have the result, right? And then for the result, we have called inserted ID, right? Yeah, this inserted ID, which could give us also that value that we were trying to do. We're trying to figure it out, right? So I'm gonna call the string on this. I don't think that we need this. I don't think that we need this. So let's see what's going on here. Let's run this again. Of course, we have the same result. And now we have this and the inserted ID. So what we're gonna do now is I'm just gonna override that ID property just because we need to see it on the web service. And we're not gonna work with the object ID right now. I guess we can do both the result inserted ID, but we could also do this ID. So what I'm gonna do is just gonna update this. I'm gonna say data.id, right? It's gonna be equal to string version of this. That should make the trick. Let's check it out. Try it again. Now it's work. Now I got the ID. So I guess I don't need the inserted ID from the result, right? So just gonna get rid of this. And as a consequence, changing this. Okay, so we're probably gonna need this also here to change the IDs. It's gonna create a function here, right? It's gonna call serialize task. Or just serialize because probably every object we're gonna Mongo road, maybe. Mongo road, and then just gonna do this, right? It's gonna be Mongo road. So I'm gonna apply this serialize to the Mongo road. instead of doing that. And because I'm gonna have the same problem here, I'm just gonna apply this serialize to all the tasks that are coming from Mongo. So this is telling me that we were shadowing our, probably because of this global, right? So let's fix that next. So we got that here, seems like it's working. We're gonna post something, we're gonna change in the ID, and then we're gonna get a request that gets everything. Oh, we have a bunch of nulls here now. So we're storing a bunch of tasks. Let's see what's going on. Maybe because of this task. Let's see if we print this task here. What's going on? What's going on? So everything's working. We go here. Yeah, we're getting all the tasks that we're supposed to. But yeah, we probably are. This is the problem with shadowing this, right? So we're modifying a global scope variable, and now we have a problem. Let's see if we got it fixed. Let's see if that was the problem. Send this, and we're still getting null. Let's see, we print the task. What we're doing wrong? Oh, of course. This serialized task doesn't return the row. That's what we want to, right? Of course. Refresh this, continue. Now we got it, right? Now let's change the rest of our routes, right? We remove these prints, so it looks ugly. Let's start to work out these routes, right? So we don't need to transform this anymore to a number. We already have that. And then we start doing this. So the get method, right? So we need to find the object based on the ID that we know that exists, right? There are multiple ways of finding and searching on Mongo, but for now we're just gonna focus in simple equality, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do task collection. We're gonna do find one. We're gonna search by the ID because we know that we have it, and then this task ID, right? This should be serialized task, and we should be good to go, right? Start there. For the update, we get the new task. We get the task collection with an update one. So instead of all this, we can do just update one. We pass the criteria and then we pass the new values. And we return the, let's check it out what this returns. Update result. We're going to check this out to see if we complete everything, or if we just return the new task, the new values that were inserted. And the delete, of course. There's also a collection method to delete. So we can delete one. Oh, that's where we won't have the autocomplete. Delete one. And I guess let's return a JSON just to keep it response through. All right, so let's test our single request API. So we get one of this, right? Go through here, we put in the URL and we send. We get an error. Non-object is not subscribable. Oh, right. So this is a tricky part, right? as Mongo is generating their own IDs, he generated that special object ID item. So in order for him to understand that we're searching that specific ID, we also have to come up with an object ID, right? So how do we do that? That's the JSON library that we saw early. This JSON for binary, formats. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna from JSON update ID. From import object ID, right? And that's what we're gonna use for transforming this. We kind of like needed that transformation, just it was kind of like a different constructor, right? So we got this task ID, and now this --dash task ID is the one that we're gonna use to search everywhere. So run the application. Everything's working, everything's connected. Get back to us. Perfect. Now we can search one ID, and I return all this. So let's take that same ID and test the update, right? So we're gonna call this new task, and we're gonna say send this to update this task. Of course, the error. Update. So it says value only works. Oh, we don't even get to the print, right? So for update, we gotta work with the operators, right? So if I'm not mistaken, right, this will have to be transformed to an object, right? And then we have to send the operators, which normally, it should be as they follow. I don't know why this works like this, but defines define one and define all, they work. When you don't put any operator, it's assumed that you're meant equal, right? But let's try this. I believe there's equal. Okay, so it says it only works with equal operators. Let's take a look at here. Okay, so let me see. Okay, so get what's wrong here. So I don't believe that is the filter. The filter works same way everywhere. I think it's this, right? So in order for us to pass new value, right, the updated value, it should be we should provide like an operator for the update operation. That operator is called normally set, right? It has a couple of options that you can use for this, but I believe it's set. So let's go try this again. Okay, so right, we don't have any errors. We have a result here, update result. Let's figure out what this has. Let's see if it has only the fields that were updated or something else. Let's update this 33. Right, so upsorted ID, raw result, modify count. So a bunch of stuff that I don't think that we need. I think that for now, to keep it simple, just gonna return the same values that we did. So let's figure out this deleting then. So same ID that we're gonna use here, we're gonna use it for delete, right? We don't need to send anything. If we make it work, it works, I think. If we call it again, it should like throw an error. I guess it doesn't throw anything if it doesn't find the record, right? But let's see. Let's see if this actually is working, the delete, right? So we have fewer tasks. I think if we do this, delete it too, and I think that there is one called 7. We can also delete it. Now for the get, we have less. No, it's a different ID. We got it. We got it here. We got less. Perfect. Perfect. Working as expected. Right. Okay, so that concludes the part of working with Mongo. Remember, Mongo is very flexible. Whatever you send there is going to be put in the task. Let's now talk about a little bit of validation, right? So whenever you're building a production-ready API or an app that you're just testing around, validation is kind of like something really important. And we're going to do that also in the same file. Probably in the next project, we're going to do a big refactor here to move things around, make it look better. So we install a library called Cerberus, right? So I'm going to show you how to use the very basic of Cerberus, right? For Cerberus, we create something called a schema, right? We put the names of the fields that we want, and we add some metadata. For example, like the type of that field is going to be a string, right? Then we create a validator object with the class that we just imported, and then we just validate things with this schema. Remember, you can set very complex rules here, like objects are, inside objects, different lists, regular expressions, specific expressions such as, emails or URLs. Also, you can build your own validation functions, and then you can refer this to this type of schema. So for now, let's just create this basic one. Let's see if it works for creating a new task. So I'm going to send the data. I'm going to tell like validator is validate, right? I think that to make it easier, we can do this. And then the validator, I'm going to call this, I think this is the way. Just to make it a little bit more friendly for the IDE. Let's check this out. Either way, I'm going to print validator here and there to see what options does he has. And then validate the data, right? It creates errors, I believe. And then we're going to print some errors. Let's see if everything checks out. We're going to test or post request, right? Probably it's going to give an error because I didn't set that it's also going to have a description field, but let's test it. Okay, so the validator object has a bunch of methods here. Right, a bunch of methods, right? And the validate function, it's called validate, right? Also have the rules there. So let me just clean this up. So it is called validates, right? So it throws some errors saying like, hey, you don't have the proper schema to do this, right? It says that it's not valid. Now, I believe that we can see the errors. Let's just check out the Cerberus documentation real quick. Basic usage here, definitely was validate. Okay, okay. So in order for us to check out the errors, we can call the validator and check a property called errors. So let's check this. Checks what's going on here. We send this a couple times to get it there in the console. So so description is an unknown field, right? So again, setting up the description, it says that something weird is going on. So let's add it to our schema. So it's just gonna be the same as name, string, right? So what I'm basically telling you is description, type string. We're gonna refresh that. Let's gonna update our code. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put an is valid here. So I'm gonna say that if is valid equals false, I'm gonna return validator errors. right? So probably, want to do something better, like returning a 400 request response, status response. Let's just keep it simple for now, right? So we send this, we get the information regarding, tasks that are being created. You can see that here, right? We're creating a lot of tasks, but if we do something like, I don't know, let's put an assignee, something that doesn't supposed to be there. Say there's one, or say completed at, let's put a string here, like 23, 01, 01, or whatever, right? Make it JSON, and we send this, then, hey, completed at is an unknown field, right? So with Cerberus, you can do multiple things, right? Validating numbers, different types, length of a certain character. It's a very powerful library to statically define schemas for data and then do validations according to that. So we're gonna be seeing a little bit more in other videos, but for now we want to keep it simple. So I think that we're good for now. I think that we cover everything that we're gonna cover. I'm gonna push this code to GitHub, also gonna destroy that Atlas database, right? So remember guys, if you enjoyed this video, just hit the like button, really helping keeping the good work. Share this with whoever you think that is gonna be interested in learning about this. Make sure to leave any comments regarding new videos or even these videos. And thank you for being here and listen to me talking like for this half an hour probably, right? So I'm just gonna commit all this. I'm gonna put this MongoDB and validation, right? Push this to the repo. I'm gonna put the link of the repo on the video, so don't worry about that. And I think that we're good for now. Thank you for listening. See you in the next one.